Young and the Restless Spoilers. In the grand halls of the Abbott mansion, Traci Abbott moved quietly, her mind racing with the unsettling thoughts that had plagued her since the day she discovered the photograph. It had been a simple, almost innocuous event, a moment when she had stumbled upon Alan's wallet, left carelessly on a side table. But what she found inside had sent chills down her spine. Photograph of Alan and Jordan, standing together, their expressions unreadable. What was even more disturbing was the undeniable connection that the picture suggested. Why would Alan carry a photograph of himself with Jordan, a woman he claimed to barely know? Traci's instincts, honed by years of living in a world filled with secrets and betrayals, told her that something was terribly wrong. The more she thought about it, the more the pieces of the puzzle seemed to fall into place. Alan had always been a charming, seemingly harmless presence in her life. Traci now realized that his charm might have been a carefully constructed facade. A facade designed to keep everyone, including herself, off guard. The possibility that Alan and Jordan might be more than just acquaintances gnawed at her. Could they be married? Siblings? The implications were staggering, and Traci knew that if her suspicions were correct, then Alan had been playing a dangerous game right under their noses. The thought of it made her blood run cold. If Alan and Jordan were indeed connected in such a way, it would explain so much. Their secretive behavior, the way Alan had wormed his way into her life, always careful to never push too hard, never raise any suspicions. Traci's mind reeled as she recalled all the small, seemingly insignificant moments when Alan had deferred to her, had gone out of his way to be agreeable, even subservient. At the time, she had thought it was just his nature. A kind gentleman who wanted nothing more than to make those around him happy. But now, in the harsh light of her new suspicions, she saw it for what it was: manipulation. Alan had been playing a long game, positioning himself as someone to be trusted, someone who posed no threat. But why? What was his endgame? The answer, Traci feared, lay with Jordan. If Alan was indeed working to further Jordan's interests, then the consequences could be disastrous, not just for Traci, but for everyone in Genoa City. What if their ultimate goal was to bring down the Abbott family, to seize control of Djibouti, or worse? The thought was almost too much to bear, but Traci knew she could not afford to look away. She had to find out the truth, no matter how painful it might be. With a resolve born of desperation, Traci began to dig deeper. Using all the resources at her disposal, she combed through old records, made discreet inquiries, and even followed Alan on several occasions, hoping to catch him in a lie, to find some concrete evidence that would confirm her worst fears. But Alan was careful, almost too careful. And Traci found herself growing more frustrated with each passing day. Then, one evening, Traci found herself alone in the mansion, her mind once again returning to the photograph that had sparked this entire ordeal. She pulled it out of the drawer where she had hidden it, studying it for what felt like the 100th time. The image seemed to mock her, as if daring her to uncover its secrets. But Traci knew that she was close. She could feel it in her bones. She just needed one more piece of the puzzle. One more clue that would reveal the true nature of Alan and Jordan's relationship. As she stared at the photograph, Traci's mind wandered back to a conversation she had overheard between Alan and Jordan several weeks earlier. At the time, it had seemed innocent enough, just two people talking about business matters. But now, with her newfound suspicions, Traci recalled the strange tension in their voices, the way they had avoided each other's eyes. It was as if they were trying to hide something, keep their true intentions from being discovered. Could it be that Alan had been planning to free Jordan from some unseen captivity? The idea seemed far-fetched, but Traci knew that in this world, anything was possible. Perhaps Alan had been biding his time, waiting for the right moment to act, all the while keeping Traci and the rest of the Abbott family in the dark. If that was the case, then Traci's window of opportunity was rapidly closing. She needed to act, and she needed to act now. With her heart pounding in her chest, Traci made a decision. She would confront Alan directly, force him to reveal the truth, no matter what it took. But she knew that she couldn't do it alone. She needed backup, someone she could trust to help her navigate the treacherous waters ahead. The first person that came to mind was her brother Jack. Jack had always been the protector of the family, the one who could see through people's lies and deception. If anyone could help her get to the bottom of this, it was him. But Traci also knew that bringing Jack into the fold meant putting him in danger. And that was something she wasn't sure she was ready to do. The stakes were high, and one wrong move could lead to disaster. Yet, as she weighed her options, Traci realized that she had no choice. If she didn't act now, the consequences could be catastrophic, not just for her, but for the entire Abbott family. The next morning, Traci sat down with Jack over breakfast, her nerves on edge as she prepared to tell him everything. She watched his face carefully as she recounted the events of the past few weeks, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and determination. Jack listened in silence, his expression growing darker with each passing moment. When Traci finally finished, she looked at her brother, her eyes pleading for him to believe her. Jack was silent for a long time, his brow furrowed in deep thought. Finally, he spoke, his voice low and serious. "If what you're saying is true, Traci, then we have a serious problem on our hands. But we can't just go in guns blazing. We need to be smart about this. Alan's a slippery character, and if we tip our hand too soon, we could lose everything." Traci nodded, relief flooding through her as Jack's words sank in. She wasn't alone in this anymore. Jack was with her, and together they would find a way to expose Alan and Jordan's scheme. But even as they planned their next steps, Traci couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. Alan and Jordan's plot was unfolding, and if they didn't act quickly, it could spell the end for the Abbott family as they knew it. As the days passed, Traci and Jack worked tirelessly, gathering evidence and piecing together the puzzle. They watched Alan's every move, searching for any sign that would confirm their suspicions. And then, finally, their patience paid off. Late one night, Traci received a call from one of the private investigators they had hired, a call that would change everything. The investigator had followed Alan to a remote location on the outskirts of Genoa City, where he had met with Jordan in secret. The meeting was brief, but what the investigator overheard was enough to confirm Traci's worst fears. Alan and Jordan were indeed working together, and their plan was far more sinister than she had ever imagined. They weren't just after the Abbott family, they were planning to take down the entire city of Genoa. Traci's heart raced as she relayed the information to Jack, her mind spinning with the implications of what she had just learned. This was bigger than anything they had anticipated, and the stakes were higher than ever. But there was no turning back now. They had to act, and they had to act fast. With the evidence in hand, Traci and Jack confronted Alan, cornering him in the Abbott mansion. Alan's calm demeanor cracked under the pressure, and it wasn't long before he revealed the truth. He and Jordan were indeed connected. More than connected, they were siblings, bound by a shared history of pain and betrayal. Their goal was to bring down the powerful families of Genoa City, to exact revenge for the wrongs they had suffered at the hands of those who had once controlled their fate. But what Alan hadn't counted on was the resilience of the Abbott family. Traci and Jack stood firm, refusing to be intimidated by his threats. They had the evidence they needed to expose Alan and Jordan's plot, and they were determined to see justice done. Alan, realizing he had been outmaneuvered, attempted to flee, but the Abbott family was ready. Security had been called, and Alan was quickly apprehended, his plans foiled. As Alan was led away, his eyes locked with Traci's, a mixture of anger and something that almost resembled respect in his gaze. "You're stronger than I gave you credit for," he said, his voice low and cold. "But this isn't over. Not by a long shot." Traci watched him go, her heart heavy with the knowledge that, while they had won this battle, the war was far from over. Jordan was still out there, and who knew what other enemies lurked in the shadows? But for now, the Abbott family was safe, and that was enough.